When you spend 2 decades wearing a motorcycle club patch, serving in leadership, and half a century raised in the life, among some of the largest organizations on record, there are several life lessons to be learned. This is one of those lessons. This is the story of 52 Tacos. It never ceases to amaze me that when dealing with leadership of other clubs, they assume that they're smarter than everyone else. I'll just say, like I've said for many years, and anyone who knows me is probably tired of hearing it. If you walk into a room thinking that you're the smartest person in the room, you have already proven that you are not the smartest person in the room. In between having to leave my first club due to circumstances beyond my control and joining the Diamond Club from which I retired from, there was an intermediary club my number 2 created and got sanctioned after he and several other patched members had also left my first club after my departure. That was quite a task that he achieved, because in the city there had always only been 2 Diamond Clubs for the previous 50 years. Well, it was probably 6 months since the start of that club when I was contacted by my former number 2 in the nation. Myself and my other 6 brothers who had joined me were still running that biker bar in our hometown. We generally had no issues with anyone because everybody knew that the 6 of us were a force to be reckoned with. They knew from which club we had left, and although they were not privy as to why we left, it was apparent that we stood our ground against a huge 1%er nation for the fact that we remained at the bar while the other organization did not. So Padre rode up to my hometown one Saturday when we were actually sponsoring a huge bike event for a fallen soldier. He pulled me aside and asked me if I knew about the club, and I said I had heard about it and I congratulated him for pulling it off. And then he said, "But wait, there's more." And I said, "Isn't there always?" He asked me if I would be interested in participating in his club, and I told him I would have to think about it because we were pretty invested in the bar at the time. He knew that if he got me to come his way that I would probably bring several with me, which could help build that club. The caveat that I was aware of, that he did not mention, was I knew that his original members of that club were some of the most intense clubbers around. I knew he had brought together some serious guys, and that anyone I would bring to the table would have to be just as serious. I also knew, just by the body of his membership, that this club was going to be about some hard business. Well, anybody that knows me knows I'm a sucker for a good time. So I probated for whom used to be my number 2 in his club, and became a member. And of course he was right. I brought about a dozen guys with me not too much after that. We were making our bones and picking up a guy here or there. About a year into it, there was a life-changing event occurred for the founder, and wouldn't you know it, as usual, I end up getting picked to be the number 1. I really didn't want to be that guy again, but I understood experience and leadership at my previous level is hard to come by. So as usual, I got suckered into that bet. And what do? I build things. That's what I do. So for the next 3 years, I built 5 chapters of guys in that region. We not only grew, but had gained quite an egregious reputation for being a nefarious, hard-hitting club. Nobody fucked with us and got away unscathed. We did not go around starting shit, but when it presented itself, we handled it with tremendous malice. This did not go unnoticed by the Diamond Clubs that had originally sanctioned our club. So, as most Diamond Clubs do, it was a mixture between trying to court us or trying to bully us nicely. You see, most Diamond Clubs try to cock-a-doodle-doo the loudest to attempt to intimidate any other club in hopes they will think they're the biggest rooster on the farm. And we did show all due respect when we could for their nations, if for nothing else than the fact that they had been who they are for such a long time and garnered a reputation of their own. It's so weird when you have people that treat you as a friend, but then occasionally tried to bully you to remind you that they're bigger than you, or to try and intimidate you so that they feel better about themselves. And both Diamond Clubs knew who I was and my history, so why anyone would even think they could get over on us is beyond my comprehension. I certainly am not bragging, but I can tell you, having grown up my entire life with motorcycle club influence, that I might be pretty damn good at being a motorcycle club member and leader. Well, one of these Diamond Clubs would host an open house during the week once a month, and they would invite all of the clubs from the area to attend. Trust me, it wasn't about friendship and camaraderie. It was about paying their bills. So on some random Tuesday afternoon about 2 p.m., I get a phone call from the chapter boss of one of those Diamond Clubs about their open house that night. It's one of those invitations given implying that you can't turn them down. Their regional boss wanted to have a word with me. I did not like the aggressive tone in his voice, but I said, "Right on, I'll see you tonight." I assumed I received the call so late in the afternoon of the same day because they assumed I wouldn't be able to pull it off, or at least not enough patches with me, so they can bitch about that too. Or they'd catch me unaware and way outnumbered, so that any words that they had to give me, I wouldn't be in a position to defend myself or my club. I'm not saying that that was their intent, but that's just the way my mind works. So I made a couple phone calls to my chapter leaders, and we made plans to meet at one of our clubhouses that wasn't too far from their location and to ride in. I was told later by a few other clubs that were already at the open house, taco night, that when we arrived, that Diamond Club was shitting themselves. I kind of thought something was up when we pulled up, and all I saw were the heads popping up over the privacy fence with eyes as big as saucers. They said they could hear us coming from blocks away. You see, not only did I manage showing up with such short notice, I brought 52 Patch brothers with me. Yeah, 52, on a Tuesday taco night with about 4 hours notice. As we were all pouring into their gate paying our $5 cover donation, the chapter boss greeted me so warmly and gave me a big hug, and he was kind of laughing, and he said, "Jesus Christ, Tabasco, did you bring the entire club?" And I said, "Nah, there was a few guys that couldn't make it on such short notice." He said, "Hell, I don't think we made enough tacos." And I said, "You better get some, my men are hungry." They went to Taco Bell and bought something like $300 worth of tacos. It was hilarious. The night went smoothly. I was treated like a king by their leadership, and I could tell they were kind of caught off guard. There's always that who's got the biggest dick contest that goes on with these clubs. And even if you aren't the biggest dick, you can always be the biggest prick. And that's a lesson that served me well for many years. But what the hell do I know? I'm just Tabasco the biker. Keep it real.
In the club life you get one shot to prove that you're a man. One shot to be the best you can.